This is Orphen, a Scion of Sorcery. It's one of the first PlayStation 2 games to release in the United States.
The hail of heaven!
Sorry, let me turn the game audio off. There we go. Orphen, Scion of Sorcery is a 3D action exploration game with real-time combat using Orphen's various spells and his allies' attacks against a range of enemies and bosses. Released in the US when the PS2 launched in 2000, it is one of the first 3 games that I owned for that system. The other 2 were Timesplitters, a first-person shooter that I still love to this day, and Eternal Ring, FromSoft's first PS2 title that both enticed and enraged me. And Orphen was just kind of there. It was not well received by critics upon release, boasting a current Metacritic score of 54. I remember being disappointed in this game. This
is not good.
But it's also not the worst game I've ever played. It just exists as a weird piece of anime game history that does have some cool design and gameplay ideas that are shackled by very poor execution. In this game, you play as Orphen, a sorcerer who was formerly part of the Tower of Fangs, but is now a wanderer after some major life events in the tower. After starting on what seems to be a quick boat trip to get some money paid back, Orphen, his apprentice Magnus, and their friend Cleo are shipwrecked on Chaos Island along with several other major characters. There are 3 scenarios, each one following one of the major characters and their reason for visiting Chaos Island, culminating in a surprising reveal for all characters involved. Based on the game's intro anime video that shows off the characters' abilities and assets, Orphen seems like a pretty cool character with a lot of power and potential. Orphen is the titular character from a series that in the States is called Sorcerous Stabber Orphen, but in Japanese is called Majutsushi Orphen, which translates to Sorcerer Orphen. This series started as a set of light novels, first released in 1994, written by Yoshinobu Akita. It has since been adapted into a manga, which I have read some of in preparation for this video, and 2 anime versions, both of which are just kind of okay. If you check out this series, you will find that Orphen is a gruff but ultimately kind-hearted character, one who protects his friends even as he grumbles about it. He loves money and does a lot of random things to get it, but he also has a clear sense of morality. However, if you were a kid in the United States around 2000 when this game released, you likely didn't know much about Orphen. This game is strangely the first official release from the franchise in the States. The anime was released in 2001, a bit after the game's release alongside the PS2 in October of 2020, and the manga didn't come out here until 2005. So the odds of someone like me, who liked anime but didn't have much access to non-official releases at the time, knowing anything about these characters was pretty low. And that's quite bad for this game, because the game's presentation assumes that you know the main characters and their relationships. I'll come back to this later, but this is very clearly an anime tie-in game. It's not going to waste time telling you too much about the core concept. So let's start this game up and experience the first little bit of the gameplay and story. From the main menu, you can choose some options or run a set of tutorials. When I bought this game, I read the manual on the way home. So I knew how to play, right? I was ready. Who needs tutorials? So I, probably like most others, went straight for the new game option. Remember that statement for later. The introduction anime cutscene features Orphen, Magnus, and Cleo walking through a port town.
I love this town, don't you? Yeah!
As the cutscene continues, Orphen is confronted by these 2 dwarves who are named Vulcan and Dorton. On sight, Orphen uses his magic to blow them up.
Poor guys. Come on.
Remember when I said this game assumes that you know the characters? This is a running gag in the Orphen universe. Vulcan owes Orphen money, but he and his brother more frequently get in the way of Orphen's various adventures to get money before he does. I found it got a bit stale in the manga, and so it remains here. Vulcan eventually convinces Orphen to travel with him.
I want to pay off my debt. You're gonna have to come with me, though, and whatever's left over is gonna be mine.
Vulcan, what are you talking about?
I'm all ears, guys.
This cutscene also shows 3 other characters who we will meet in due time. There's this woman, this large man, and this child. Now onto the in-game models on the ship. Orphen lies in bed.
Oh man, I'm never gonna get any sleep. I sure hope this storm doesn't get any worse.
Hey, Orphen sounds like Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2. Yes, it's Quentin Flynn, and this game features a few other familiar voices as well. Jennifer Hale plays Cleo, for example.
This is so unfair! Why can't I have my own cabin?
We were only able to book 2 cabins, and Master said he needed to have one to himself.
For some extra context, Magnus is Orphen's apprentice, while Cleo is from a rich family, and follows Orphen around partly in hopes that he'll teach her magic. Magnus and Cleo are also, I think, friends before Orphen came around, so their banter makes at least a little bit more sense here. However, Magnus suddenly says,
Hey, what was that? I thought I saw...
What? There's nothing out there.
But I thought I saw something.
It's just rain hitting the window.
Are you sure?
It turns out the ship is under attack by monsters, and we can finally take control of Orphen. I condensed things a fair bit. This whole intro is 5 minutes and 40 seconds long. We lose control again very quickly because we see a mercenary fighting against the monsters.
Whoa! What the hell? I know not. I can handle these pests. Get out of here now!
Orphen, help him!
This is going to be pretty standard for the rest of the game. We advance a little or explore a little, get a short or very long cutscene, find some items in chests, get a new cutscene, hit a save point, and then continue on the path. Each exploration area does have stuff to find in these chests, but they're usually healing items that you'll end the game with far too many of. There are very few times where you can travel backward after triggering a cutscene, so you better get everything you want before you move forward. As we explore the ship, we see the woman from the anime cutscene escaping.
Lady, don't worry about me. You should get out as soon as possible, too.
And we also find Vulcan and Dorton.
Hurry it up, will ya? Get that food in a sack. Grab as much as you can, you idiot. We're gonna need all of this.
Hey, you thieving scoundrels! This is no time to be stealing!
They are then quickly attacked by a gigantic crab. Geez, these guys first get nuked by Orphen, then thrown off a ship by a crab? Talk about a bad day. And Orphen jumps into combat. It's a really nice eye shimmer here for Orphen. Very cool visual touch. Also, this boss battle theme is really good. Okay, let's do a quick talk about combat. I'll do a deeper dive later, but here are the basics. This is a boss fight, so we can only target the boss and occasional other stuff in the scene. You can change your target with the left or right movement on the D-pad or the stick. You can attack with one of 3 options, or use a shield. You cannot move Orphen during combat. There are times when he'll move around a combat scene automatically, but that's it. At the start of the game, Orphen has 3 attacks. First, a projectile spell.
The Hail of Pyro!
If you charge this up, Orphen releases more projectiles. Second, an elemental area spell.
The Bite of Lightning!
You can charge this to damage a wider area, or to release an elemental spirit. He also has a sword, which is not always useful due to enemy distance and Orphen needing a path to reach the enemy. he can charge it to extend its length. Of course, the game does not tell you any of this during the fight. You either have to read the manual, or you have to play the tutorials. These tutorials are very slow. Orphen teaches Magnus what to do, and then you do the thing he taught you. These are not fun to play. You should read the manual instead. There's a great scan of it on Vim's lair as part of the manual project, and I've linked that in the video's description. After defeating the crab, and the creepy little crabs that it spits out, Orphen gets a new spell.
The Shield of Immunity!
We also get more info from another familiar voice.
The Shield of Immunity. Reflects poison attacks back to all enemies.
If you thought that that was Paul Eiding, the voice of Colonel Campbell from Metal Gear Solid, then you're correct. He'll tell us about any new spells that Orphen gets after major battles. Orphen reunites with Magnus and Cleo, and we escape to the ship's deck. On the way, Magnus and Cleo argue about which way to go.
No, I don't think so. We should take the door on the left.
Oh, and how do you know the left way is better?
Instinct.
Huh?
Knock it off, you two! We have to hurry!
I agree with Orphen, and, in fact, it does not matter which way you go, you end up on the deck either way. There will be a small conversation later that references which way he went, but that's about it. I followed Magnus as a kid because Cleo was annoying. Now, as an adult, with greater wisdom, I followed Magnus because Cleo is annoying. On the deck, I smack some enemies away. Orphen can use a projectile or his sword outside of battle to deal with some environmental hazards like enemies or objects. This doesn't come up very often, with only a few instances being truly meaningful. I meet up with Magnus, who is talking with the woman from before. This is Sephi, who we will learn more about in this scenario. She laments that the ship is sinking.
Well, looks like this ship is going down.
Oh no, not when I'm so close.
Let's take a second to talk about the three major characters in this game aside from the main Orphen crew. Sephi is a dancer who is on her way to Chaos Island so she can visit the grave of her fiancé.
And why would a dancer hop on a ship to Chaos Island?
I came to pay my respects to my fiancé. He died here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sephi.
It was a long time ago.
Zeus is the large mercenary we saw fighting enemies on the ship, and he's going to Chaos Island to search for his daughter.
I have a daughter, a little bit younger than you. I came looking for her. Now I think perhaps it was a mistake to come here.
Huh?
Excuse me, I didn't... You reminded me of her. It has been 10 years now since my wife left and took my daughter with her. I've heard news that my wife has died, and that my daughter is living alone, somewhere on this island.
Wow, a 10-year reunion! That's great! I just love stories like this. Father and daughter together at last. Oh man, where's my hanky? I think I'm gonna cry.
Mar, this young child, is going to Chaos Island to search for his mother.
This song is gonna lead me to my mother.
What?
Oh, I'm trying to find my mother.
Your mother?
We got separated when I was a baby.
Oh.
Mar is unique in that you cannot choose his scenario first. You must start with either Sephi or Zeus, complete their scenarios, and then complete Mar's scenario. And then, well, we'll get there. So the ship is sinking, but not before Sephi notices something about Orphen.
That amulet.
The amulet, seen to the left of the gameplay here, is the symbol of the Tower of Fangs. Again, the game doesn't tell you this right away, so those familiar with the setting will catch something important, but kid me said, "What about that amulet?" and was then distracted by this. Yes, it's time for another boss fight. Orphen leaps to the top of the mast for this fight. Strong legs, jeez. This boss is a little bit annoying in that he flies past you often before your spells can reach it. If you charge up an elemental spell, it will definitely miss because they target where an enemy was when you started charging it. So I ended up using my projectile spell.
Yes, Orphen, that one, as the boss flew toward me, then shielded myself from damage, then used the elemental spell quickly before the boss dove too far away. The boss can destroy the mast that Orphen is on, and it can destroy the whole ship before you win, but I fortunately didn't have that happen. After the battle, the ship sinks, and while that happens, I have an important question. Why does Orphen yell out the name of his spells?
The hail of Pyro! The bite of lightning! The shield of immunity! The bolt of thunder!
Without context, you might think, well, that's just an anime thing. They shout attack names all the time. And yeah, that's definitely true, but there is an in-universe reason that sorcerers shout their spell names. In the manga, Magnus explains at one point that humans gained magic thanks to it being granted from dragons a long time ago. The magic we were given was vocal, requiring the naming of the spells. Although it seems that you don't always have to get the words 100% right, it seems like it's more intention and power combined with the verbal component. Anyway, yes, there is a reason we hear Orphen so often in this game. As the ship sinks, we get a quick anime cutscene of some woman in pain in front of a machine, which then shows her a silhouette of Orphen. Very mysterious, but not very informative at this point. And sure enough, this won't come up again until the very end of the game, as is tradition with mysterious cutscenes. Instead, Orphen wakes up on Chaos Island, and it is very stormy. It may be my emulator, but these flashes are pretty rough.
So where are we?
Sephi thinks we're on Chaos Island.
Chaos Island? Where's that? Shouldn't we be near Arvin Rama?
Pardon me, but wasn't the ship bound for Chaos Island? Arvin Rama is in the opposite direction.
Vulcan must have got us on the wrong ship.
Oh, damn. I shouldn't have trusted that fool.
We're here with Magnus and Sephi, and so we'll explore and try to get some shelter. We wander the walkways a bit and we find a tower.
It's probably dry in there. Let's have a look.
Sephi says she'll climb up some vines to get to an upper entrance. Once she does so... Oh, sorry, I was focused there. Once she gets to the entrance, she hops into the tower and finds some enemies. We've had 2 boss fights already, but this is the first fight we've had against generic enemies, and it's not even with our main character. This introduces a new mechanic. When you change targets, you can see a diagram indicating the elemental weaknesses of the enemies. Every spell has an element, and this includes Sephi's dances.
Dance of Ice!
However, I honestly had a lot of trouble reading this diagram after this fight. This one is easy. These lizards are equally affected by all spells. Other enemies will have different amounts of weaknesses indicated, like these plants that have 3 red bars for fire weakness. However, when you equip spells, they show their strength with more bars, meaning more power. So the enemy weakness is read opposite from the spell power. A little weird to me. Anyway, Sephi uses her abilities to take out these lizards.
I did it!
And then open the door to the tower. This place has a ton of traps, so Orphen says what amounts to his catchphrase for this game.
I'll go on ahead and check things out. You guys, catch up later.
This pattern, see a room full of hazards, Orphen says,
You guys, catch up later.
You do the things, then the crew catches up later.
Master! Wait for us!
Well, you two certainly took your time.
Happens so often, it's damn near every room.
I'll go check it out. You two, wait here. I'll go on ahead. You two, catch up later. Everyone wait in the boat. I'll be right back. You two can catch up later.
Even the other characters get in on it.
Let me handle this one.
Wait here. I'll be right back.
I could get there by going through here.
So why does this happen so often? I have a guess. This is an early PS2 game featuring 3D exploration. Dealing with one character getting hurt or falling and respawning somewhere is hard enough. Doing that for 3 characters at the same time, and for the player having to get 3 characters through a given trap, that sounds awful. I can certainly understand why they only had 1 character do these hazard rooms. We navigate not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 rooms full of hazards. Some hazards cause damage, but some are more simple navigation challenges. In the 5th room, Orphen finds some enemies.
Who's there?
This is, I think, a really cool transition from cutscene to battle, and I like that this battle flows between action and some character shenanigans.
Look out! Magnus, go back!
I can't! There's no way back down!
Oh, don't be such a baby, Magnus. I'll take care of these guys. You just get over there and pull that lever. Do you think you can handle that?
Huh? How am I supposed to do that?
I don't care. Just do it. Seppi, can you give Magnus a hand?
I'll do my best, Orphen.
Again, Orphen is kind of a jerk, but at least he can clean up this enemy mob with frequent use of
A bite of lightning!
Now that was easy.
Going up another floor, we turn off a mechanism and we find a shard of the crystal egg. Seppi tells us a bit more about this artifact.
Before he died, my fiancé Rufus told me of an artifact on this island called the Crystal Egg. According to him, this crystal egg had an extremely powerful aura, strong enough to manipulate the time continuum. But from what I remember, the crystal egg was in another tower. Orphen, I'm confused. I'm afraid I may have ended up getting us involved in something much bigger than I had ever imagined.
What? Wait a second. What are you talking about?
I suspect it has something to do with the power contained in the crystal egg. Rufus told me that this tower had just been completed, yet everything looks so old and decrepit. I think that somehow we may have been transported into the future.
Not sure how we ended up in the future in the first place, but sure. Seppi activates the shard. We warp, and everyone just assumes we're back in the right time.
What the hell's going on? Are we back to our own time now, or what?
Yes.
Cool.
Leaving the tower, we can find some chests. We've seen several of these around already, and I've said a little bit about them. The short explanation for now is that they rarely contain a weapon for your current side character, but they usually contain items that you can use on the field to heal your character. Note that I said you can use them on the field. You cannot use them in battle, which is pretty unfortunate. We progress forward and see the Kirin tree.
I don't believe it. It must be the Kirin tree.
The Kirin tree?
What's that?
Legend says that somewhere on this island, there's a tree that blossoms only once every 1,000 years. That must be it.
Wow.
Neat.
As we move forward, we hit another encounter, this time with a variety of enemies. I did not say random encounter for a reason. Every fight in this game is scripted. Even the back of the box boasts that you will, quote, take on 3 immersive storylines and 51 action-packed event-based encounters. 51 is an extremely precise number, but that's Orphen Scion of Sorcery for you. This action-packed event-based encounter features a lot of sudden camera cuts, and it gets a bit disorienting when I'm trying to defend against this many enemies. There's a lot happening with both stationary and flying enemies here. Orphen's health is indicated with blue crystals that appear when he gets hurt, and that's all the detail you get. Remember those items I mentioned that you can use in the field to heal? In battle, you can only use an HP restoring target to heal, and it isn't featured in every encounter. You can, at least, change your weapons in battle so that you can take on enemies with appropriate elements. This does reset the battle though, so if you only have a few enemies left, it might be better to just deal with the lack of alignment. As we advance forward, Orphen steps on something. Yep, we changed time periods again. Thanks a lot, Orphen. Now we're in a wintry setting, and we get to experience ice physics. This area is also where I realized that you can press left on the D-pad to open an overhead view of your current area. This is helpful for navigation, but it doesn't show any chests. Again, the chests will mostly have healing items or items that will help avoid enemies, but they will occasionally have a weapon, so I feel like I have to snag all of them. It is very tedious. It's also worth noting that if you die in an exploration zone or in battle, you will return to the main menu and have to reload your most recent save. Progressing through the ice area, we see a brief cutscene in which Magnus tries to cast a spell to warm up Sephi.
Sephi, are you okay? Here, let me help. Don't move. O Mother's Sun, burning bright, I summon forth your warming light.
Hey! No! Stop!
Oh!
Ah! Ah!
This causes a fight. And then Orphen warps us around time again.
He's gonna take you back to the past.
Exploring this section, we play as Sephi and reach the Kirin tree in order to open the way forward. She realizes that we are back in what we assume is our own time because the Kirin tree is blooming again.
The Kirin tree was in bloom. That might mean we've returned to our own time.
What? Really? Oh, right!
Okay, let's move on.
We reach a platform where Magnus and Sephi have a conversation in which we learn more about her. She reveals that she was a dancer at a palace who met a man named Rufus, an archaeologist who became a treasure hunter.
He would tell me about his travels, about foreign lands and people. Oh, Rufus was a dreamer. I loved that about him. Oh, when he told me stories of his travels, his eyes would shine like a little boy's. I fell head over heels in love with him. We were sworn to marry. Then one day his letters just stopped coming. I wondered what could have happened to him. Eventually I heard that he had been killed.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have pried.
No, it's all right. You didn't pry. I've always been one to talk too much.
Sephi?
Yes.
I'll get you to his grave safely. You can count on me.
Oh, thank you, Magnus. Thank you.
Ah.
Ooh, sorry to barge in on you lovebirds, but Sephi, are you sure we're heading the right way?
Yes.
Jeez, Orphen, terrible timing, dude. Further on the path, we find a statue that delivers a riddle.
If you look upon my form, your own form will I take. The entire world can fit inside me. Yet even a child may bear my weight. What am I?
Ugh, I hate riddles.
We also find Vulcan and Dorton, and Orphen is pissed at them for getting them on the wrong ship.
This whole mess is your fault, you stupid half-wit. You got a lot of nerve trying to blame this on me.
My fault? Don't make me laugh, you pathetic excuse for a sorcerer! Have fun down there in the tunnels!
Vulcan, maybe you shouldn't make him any angrier than he already is.
Too late, my little friend.
Here I come!
We have a brief mini-game, I guess I'll call it, in which we climb up to the dwarves as they throw bombs at Orphen. Again, this is a reference to the rest of the media in this universe. Orphen and these dwarves are constantly at each other like this. Once we reach the top, we toss Vulcan aside, and Dorton helps out with the riddle.
I'm not positive, but I think that the answer to the Stoneface's riddle is mirror.
Really? I'll give it a try. Thanks.
So Orphen reports back to the statue the riddle's answer. We see a new path down below, fight some enemies, and then we finally reach a path to another cutscene.
You know, I have a really bad feeling about this place. Why have we stopped?
Why do they always have to do it the hard way?
Huh?
Magnus, wait here.
What? Where are you going?
Just do as I say, okay? I need you to stay here and protect Sephi. That's an order.
Okay. But why?
Magnus?
Magnus, I'm trusting you to protect Sephi. Who knows? This could be your big chance.
And now is my big chance to talk about one of the strangest bosses in this game. I initially typed worst bosses, but I think I was letting my childhood speak there. This boss has an odd mechanic. He can only be damaged by Orphen's sword. Often he charges forward and knocks Orphen back. If I get knocked back far enough, Orphen simply dies. However, I managed to avoid that death this time. His other attack is a ground pound that releases a fire wave, but that's more rare. The timing here is tricky. Orphen charges his sword, moves forward, and swings either when he reaches his target, which is too late in this fight, or when you press the sword button again, which I often was too late to do in this fight. I was stuck here for hours as a kid, but I only had to retry this once during this playthrough. I think I got lucky with this boss, not simply charging at me the entire fight. With the boss defeated, Orphen reunites with Sephi and Magnus, and we get an anime cutscene with Magnus leading the way.
Look out!
I knew that I was right about this place.
Is that all you have to say?
Magnus! Are you all right?
Yeah.
Orphen, what is with this face, dude? Why are you so disgusted? Anyway, we've now arrived at Gaia's tomb, a central hub of sorts from which we will progress further into the story. This seems like a good point to give you a chance to skip ahead if you want to avoid story spoilers. We're partway through Sephi's story, but there are also 2 other storylines to follow, and an epilogue. I will say that this story at least tries to do some interesting things, and it does end in a way you might not anticipate. So if you would rather skip that and hear more about the mechanics and presentation of this game, skip to the time on the screen. We good? Alright, let's keep going. Gaia's tomb and a rest house attached to it act as a pause point in each scenario where you can check in with all of the characters and decide what to do next. We can choose to accompany any of the 3 characters, but the game is designed such that you travel with your initial chosen character the whole way through their story. Indeed, if you talk to a different character, Cleo will show up and remind you that you should probably stick with Sephi, who she is a bit jealous of.
Hey, Orphen, what about your pretty little friend?
Okay, never mind.
Before we reunite with Sephi, though, we chat more with Cleo.
Really? It's unbelievable.
Huh? What's unbelievable?
Wait. Who was that? Did they really not notice that? Really?
Fortunately, Cleo's cat-like thing, it's actually a wolf cub that is actually a deep dragon named Lecky. There's a whole plotline about meeting it in the other orphan materials. Anyway, Lecky finds this old woman.
Let go! Let go, I say!
Who's there? Show yourself!
Lucky, let go right now! I'm sorry. Who are you? Do you live here?
You're working for that woman, aren't you?
What woman?
It won't work. I won't let you get away with it.
Hold on. What do you mean? Lucky, leave her alone. Hey, wait!
What was that?
Something about some woman and not getting away with something. What did she mean?
Who knows?
Well, no time to worry about it now. We partner up with Sephi again, we get through a short maze, and we fall into a trap.
Uh-oh.
Ah!
The old woman from before has captured us, and she throws some accusations at Sephi.
Hey, you're that old woman from before.
Who are you? What are you doing? Please let us out.
Silence! Do you think I'd let a servant of Kyrus fool me with such a pathetic act? Forget about it, Missy! Now tell me, what have you done with my granddaughter?
What? Granddaughter?
What are you...
We take control of Magnus here, and we escape the prison.
Ah!
You're amazing, Magnus.
Oh, it was nothing. Let's go.
After navigating through several areas, we find Cleo traveling with the same old woman from before, who is named Jado.
I ran into her again shortly after you guys left, and we talked. Her eyesight's not too good, and she thought we were someone else. Her granddaughter has been missing for a while, and she's been searching for her ever since. I'm helping her look.
After several more maze-like areas, we finally escape and find a young girl who we protect in a solo Sephi fight.
Stand back. I'll protect you.
This girl is, of course, Jado's granddaughter, who's named Ronnie. But something's wrong.
Ronnie, have you ever heard of a person named Kyrus?
Yes, she's a mean, nasty lady. She used me in some kind of experiment.
Experiment?
Yes, it really hurt, but I don't think it worked properly. She made it so I get older faster than other people.
But you look... you're so young.
Well, I'm only 10.
You're 10?
She definitely looks older than 10. Look at that body.
Orphan, dude, please don't. Come on. Anyway, we reunite Jado and Ronnie, and we learn more about Kyrus and her experiments.
Kyrus is quite a beautiful woman, on the surface at least. However, her greatest fear is of getting old and losing her beauty. The purpose of her evil experiments is to find a way to stop the aging process.
So that would explain why the experiment caused rapid aging when it failed.
So the experiments failed, but fortunately, if we can find the crystal egg, we can fix this mess.
The crystal egg.
Sephi, you seem a bit too keen on this crystal egg hunt. Are you okay? We learn that the egg is hidden in an underground temple. Sephi promises to get it, and Orphan reluctantly agrees.
Okay. Of course I'll help you find it.
All right!
Oh, thank you, Orphan. I knew you would do it. Beneath it all, you're really quite a nice person.
Yeah, well, okay. Enough of that. Just don't go spreading the word, all right? Now, let's go find that egg.
We make our way down to the hidden temple, which seems pretty easy to find considering the name, and we enter it to find the egg. Reaching a sealed door, Sephi does some magic, and we never really learn how she knows how to do this, she just does it.
Mighty Lord of Chaos, I beg of thee, enlighten my path to set a child free. Though impenetrable walls still block the path, I beg of you to let us pass.
What's happening?
Sephi, what did you do? Sephi!
We enter, and as we try to take the egg, we get a boss battle against 3 skeletons and a statue.
Ah! It's alive!
Rookie mistake. Places like this are always booby-trapped.
The goal here is to destroy the statue. It's pretty straightforward, if a little bit sneaky. The skeletons will get in the way of your attacks, so you have to manage keeping them down while chipping away at the statue.
The bolt of thunder! The bolt of thunder!
Now that was easy.
I did it!
Once we claim the egg, Sephi asks for it.
And just what do you want with the egg, Sephi?
Oh, well,
You came to this island to pray for your dead fiancé, right? Well then, you shouldn't need the egg for that. So perhaps now is a good time to change your cover story.
Sephi? What's going on?
After that attack, Kiris appears.
Ah!
Orphen, she's not that scary, relax. Kiris threatens us and Sephi charges at her.
You cannot even begin to comprehend the powers with which you are meddling. I will give you this one chance. Leave here now.
Give it back!
Sephi, no! Shield of immunity! Hand of pyro!
Unfortunately, the egg is shattered, and now we get some more information about Sephi.
I came to this island in search of a miracle that would bring my true love back to life.
To life?
I wanted to use the egg to be with him again.
Trying to bring him back to life, huh?
Is that possible?
With the egg destroyed, we can't help Ronnie anymore, and Orphen and Magnus explain to Sephi that her dream of bringing Rufus back to life is impossible.
Rufus said he had learned that the crystal egg even had the power to bring the dead back to life.
That's impossible. Sephi, you're not serious.
I lied about praying for him. What I really wanted
was to bring your dead fiancé back to life? That's not possible, Sephi.
Back at the rest house, we come up with a plan.
Master! Sephi! I've got it!
Got what?
Okay. Remember when we first came ashore here? At the Tower of Mercy or whatever? On the top floor of the tower, there were some fragments of the crystal egg. Do you remember, Sephi?
Yes.
Anyway, what I think is that we can use those egg fragments to jump back in time, to a time before the egg was broken.
Hey, it's worth a shot. We do still need to help Ronnie, after all. The game auto-warps us to the top of the tower where we first traveled through time, and Sephi activates another crystal egg shard. We warp, What the hell is with this statue? Jeez. The egg is here at least, but Sephi activates the same trap that we turned off when we first came through here.
Sephi!
Huh? Oh!
Damn!
Master! Ugh!
Magnus!
Magnus!
Now it's up to Magnus to traverse down the tower to deactivate it. At the bottom of the tower, Magnus hits several switches, and unfortunately the floor falls out from under him, and he's forced into a sand pit.
No! Not into the pit! It burns!
Fortunately, Orphen and Sephi are free, and they get worried about Magnus.
Do you think...
Damn! Just when you think he's finally done a good job, he goes and gets lost.
They follow him down the tower, which now has monsters woken up thanks to the switches that Magnus hit. Once we reach the last room that he was in, it is full of sand. We can progress further down, and we fortunately find Magnus no worse for wear.
Sephi? Master? What's going on?
Oh, you idiot! When you didn't come back, we came looking for you.
What?
Using the egg to return to our own time, we're greeted by an old man.
Why did you come, Sephi? Why?
Do you know him?
No, it can't be. Is that you, Rufus?
Yes, Sephi. It's me.
That's Rufus? That old man? I thought he was supposed to be dead.
Sephi faints and drops the egg. It's good that she didn't break this one. And unfortunately, Curious claims it.
Oh, what's wrong, Sephi? You should be happy I gave you this chance to meet your old boyfriend again. Don't you agree, Rufus?
Orphen has some thoughts about Curious.
You're deluded, Curious. No one lives forever, as you're about to find out. Die, witch!
Goodbye, magician boy.
And now it's boss fight time. If this boss looks familiar, that's because it is. It's the same idea as the boss that wrecked the ship, but with a twist that it has a shield that has to be broken before you can damage it. I'm not 100% sure what actually breaks it. Maybe the lightning spells I was using, maybe it's hitting the rocks. Either way, the boss goes down.
The pinnacle of the sun!
And Curious doesn't have much to say about it.
No.
She leaves the egg behind, and Rufus explains his regrets.
I heard you had been killed.
I was already as you see me now. I couldn't bear for you to see me like this, so old and helpless. Sephi, I didn't think I'd ever see you again.
Oh, Rufus.
Back at Gaia's tomb, Ronnie is suddenly doing much worse. Now that we have the egg, we can help her, but...
Oh, wait. No. Don't tell me.
You don't know how to use the crystal egg?
Well, actually, no, I don't.
Rufus, though, does.
Are you sure?
Yes. I know more about the crystal egg than just about anyone, but I must start immediately. There isn't much time. Please, step back. I am ready to begin.
Rufus.
Sephi, I'm glad I got to see you one more time.
But Rufus...
Guardian of Time, I demand, guide us to the true path!
Look, the egg!
What the... Sorcery? No, it's something different.
It seems that Rufus has indeed saved Ronnie, but at a great cost.
Rufus! Why, Rufus?
Sephi, thank you so much for coming. It's okay. It's my time to go.
No! Don't say that, Rufus.
Master?
There's nothing I can do, Magnus.
We see Orphen, Cleo, and Magnus back on the boat, recapping the events of the scenario. Orphen recalls Sephi explaining that she'll stay on the island.
Orphen, I have decided to remain here on Chaos Island. I will watch over Rufus's grave until we meet again in the afterlife. Here is my payment as promised. It's not much, but it's valuable to me.
He looks at the item that Sephi gave him, and then...
Long have I waited for your coming, forever imprisoned here by the chains of eternity. Unfortunately, there is little I can do, except wait. You have done well, Orphen. Very well. But your true destiny still awaits before you, unfulfilled. Here I will remain, waiting. The stage has been set for you to return. Orphen, you are my only hope.
Wait, that was Ronnie saying something about Orphen having not fulfilled his destiny yet? What's going on? We save once again, and now we have a screen with the crystal egg. We have the chance to play again, so sure, let's do it. Immediately, Orphen is warped to the ship in the storm from the beginning.
What is this? Haven't I been here before? This is weird. Ah! Okay, so it's not a dream. Then what the hell's going on?
Well, it might not be a dream, but there is fortunately a chest here with a nice new sword for him. Jumping down to the deck, I find Cleo and the mercenary Zeus.
Well, Zeus, this is how I see it. We're in a tight spot here. We'll have a much better chance of surviving if we work together.
Well said, Master Orphen. There's always safety in numbers.
Of course, since we're back on the ship, we get to fight the ship-destroying serpent once again. It's an easy fight, since I know what I'm doing here. In this scenario, Orphen, Cleo, and Zeus are warped suddenly to a tower on Chaos Island, which none of them seem too concerned about.
What is this place?
It's Anarchy Island or something like that.
Anarchy Island, huh?
Chaos Island.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Chaos Island.
Zeus explains his motivation for his journey to Chaos Island.
I've heard news that my wife has died, and that my daughter is living alone, somewhere on this island.
Wow, a 10-year reunion! That's great! I just love stories like this. Father and daughter together at last. Oh man, where's my hanky? I think I'm gonna cry.
But now I don't know if coming was the right thing to do. When I find her, what do I say? What do I do? It's been so long, I don't even know if she'll recognize me.
Oh, don't worry, you're her father. I just know she'll be happy to see you.
I hope you're right.
We descend the tower, and Orphen reads a book that mentions the crystal egg.
It says here that there's a crystal egg hidden somewhere on the island, and legend says whoever holds the egg will be able to move through time.
Really?
Well, that's what the book says.
We also get another "let's split up, gang" moment.
You two, wait here.
Be careful, Zeus.
And we have some solo combat with Zeus. He plays slightly differently from Orphen and Sephi in that he's a physical fighter, so he uses a bow and a sword and a big swinging ball, though his weapons can have elemental affinity. We continue down the tower to a flooded room where Zeus finds a map and Cleo thinks she sees a way out.
Well, if she's not here, then she might be at the center of the island.
That doesn't seem far away at all.
And just how are we gonna get there?
Leave that to me. I think I know. Do you see that way over there? I bet it's our way out.
She controls the exact same as Orphen and Magnus, so this feels like it's more to just have her do something rather than complain the entire trip. Cleo navigates through the water to reach the switch. Oh my god, that was dramatic. Like I said, she makes her way to the switch, and we find our way out and into a ship graveyard.
Are you sure this is the right direction?
Yes, quite sure. We have to pass through there.
What? Isn't there another way? Something a little less scary? I don't like the looks of this.
Moving along, we go above, into, and out of some ships, with combat, of course. Zeus makes his presence felt by destroying a lot of things. He cuts down a mast at one point, and he also busts open some walls during a few fights so we can progress forward.
This is not good. Master Orphen, hold them off while I make us a way out of here.
Okay.
Excellent line reading, gotta love it. At the end of the ship graveyard, we see the ship that we traveled on initially.
I swear I've seen that ship before. Now I remember. It's the ship we came on.
Are you sure?
Positive. That statue proves it.
But how can that be? This ship looks hundreds of years old.
It wasn't like that when we were on it. So that leaves just one explanation.
What? What?
It means that somehow we've been transported into the future.
The future?
Impossible.
So we are in the future here, which is concerning, but we progress forward. In this new area, Zeus sees someone.
Azel.
Zeus, wait!
Was that Kiris? Is Kiris Zeus's daughter? We find a grave for Azel, which is his daughter's name.
This tomb, it says Azel.
It just can't be.
What's that in there?
After moving some other tombstones around to get inside of the grave, we find a letter from Azel, along with a shard of the crystal egg. The letter explains.
She says it is part of the crystal egg.
What? The egg from the book? The one that's supposed to let you move through time?
Yes. It says that it can be activated by touching the inside of the shell. Azel must have known that I would come here someday, and left these here for me to find.
That ghost you saw led us here. Now it's all starting to make sense.
Azel.
Hey, let's not forget that we're just trying to get off the island, okay? The important thing is that now we can go back to our time. Maybe it's a different Azel. Let's go.
Using the crystal egg shard, we transition back to the present day and travel through the rest of the graveyard. Cleo points out a house, probably the rest house from the first scenario, but to get there we need to pass through another boss.
Master Orphen, there's something in there.
Zeus, protect Cleo.
Leave it to me.
Come and get some, beastie!
The first phase of this boss features two parts that spit out eggs, which then release small spiders that will jump on Orphen. The second phase is a large spider that absolutely wrecked my ship. I think this is actually a really cool fight. It requires good use of your shield to avoid damage from this needle attack in particular.
Thunder! The bolt of thunder!
If it hits Orphen, he's locked out of using his shield sometimes due to a status effect. The goal here, destroy the webs, then attack the spider. I like this fight. There are a lot of cool features and it forces you to engage with the combat system in a really thoughtful way. It's anime cutscene time, in which Orphen is kind of a jerk at first.
My daughter is gone. I've come too late.
Hey, I'm trying to eat here. Can you be depressed someplace else, okay?
Ah! How can you be so insensitive? Ah!
But he does explain that since we're back in our own time, we might be able to find Zeus's daughter alive.
Even if it was her grave, we were in the future. Now that we're back, chances are she's still alive. So just stop your whining, Zeus, okay?
We then see a struggle. Hey, it's Jado and Kiris. Kiris runs off with
the crystal egg.
Zeus chases, and she seems to recognize him.
Stop!
She escapes, but Jado has some important information for us.
That woman who just ran off, she kidnapped your daughter.
Kidnapped? What?
Curus is the name of the witch that swiped Azel away. In the name of science, she said.
Curus, beware. Nothing shall stop me until I get my Azel back.
Right, so Curus has the crystal egg again and has kidnapped Zell. We better get to work. We take a quick chat to everyone break at the rest stop and then reunite with Zeus to continue the adventure. This time, Magnus joins us because
I'll be of much more help.
Ronnie's here as well, and she says she can help us chase after Curus. But wait, wasn't Ronnie part of Curus's experiments before? Why is she here now? Either way, we'll have Ronnie help us.
Ronnie, we want to go to the underground tunnels.
You mean the labyrinth?
You know it?
Yes, I know it. I can take you near there if you want.
That would be perfect.
Let's go.
Cutscene? The action's over. Hello? There we go. Ronnie helps us out by piloting a boat, though we do have to hop out sometimes to hit some switches. Thanks to her help, we reach the Tower of Mercy, progress onto a walkway where we have one more fight.
Monsters again?
Damn! They never learn.
Wait here, this battle is mine.
And then we're suddenly back at the Tower of Wisdom where we started. We find a logbook about Curus conducting experiments.
It looks like our friend Curus conducted some weird experiments with the flow of time in this lab. It doesn't say anything about Azel yet.
Time?
That's what it says. But listen to this. It also says that she was using 2 young girls as test subjects, and one of them escaped. I'll bet she kidnapped them both.
Kelu, Rapat, Gabar.
Stop! Ah! Run! Never mind me! Run!
I'm sorry.
This cutscene is kind of weird. That old woman is very clearly Jado, and the young girl is Curus? What's going on here? We pass through some platforming challenges, and at last we find Curus.
Over there.
Huh?
Hey!
It's Curus. Wait here.
You! What are you doing down here?
Witch, we've got you now.
Tell your master Jado that I'll never give her back the crystal egg.
What? She's not our Matt.
Silence! You cannot fool me.
Stand and fight, coward! Stop!
No, don't chase her. It could be a trap.
In this pit, we'll find a double of our characters.
There's two of me. Okay, come on, guys, now. Easy.
Prepare yourself, orphan.
No, wait!
Yeah.
It turns out this is a sneaky boss. It fakes being a character sometimes. There is a cool trick here. This boss uses darkness-based attacks, and I recently received a spell that reflects darkness spells back. So... very neat. After defeating the boss, we suddenly get back to Gaia's tomb. I'm not sure if it's because I'm playing this scenario second, and it's jumping around more because of that, or if it's just that this scenario feels much more random and less well put together than Sephi's scenario. Zeus is enraged at our failures, and he freaks out.
Kill
alone. Have to get her back.
Shield of Fire!
And that's why you can't afford to lose your cool.
So definitely time for a rest stop visit, and we'll reunite with Zeus and Cleo. And Ronnie will once again help us get back to the Tower of Wisdom. Kyrus, for some reason, gets swallowed up by the sand here. See what I mean about the randomness?
Not into the pit! It burns!
And we give chase. Once we catch up to her, Ronnie shows up and reveals the truth.
Stop! You can't!
What?
Ronnie, what are you doing? You can't. Zeus, this lady isn't... Curious, she isn't... I mean, she's Azel. She's your daughter, Azel.
What?
What are you saying?
So, two girls were kidnapped, Ronnie and Azel is now older due to Kyrus's magic.
The experiment failed, and as a result, Azel ended up aging 7 times faster.
Is it true? Are you really my little Azel?
Daddy. I remember. I remember your voice.
So Azel looks how Kyrus looked last time, so who is actually the villain here? Oh, it's Jado now? Jado's the villain? I mean, that matches the cutscene we saw earlier, but isn't this completely at odds with the story from Sephi's scenario, and nobody is saying anything about that? What is going on? The answer to that question is going to have to wait until we're done with the next 2 scenarios, but just know, yes, you're meant to be confused, and no, I don't think this is a particularly good move on the developer's part. So Jado now has the crystal egg, and she threatens to destroy the entire island.
All my plans would have succeeded if not for you meddling strangers. You will pay. If I can't have my youth back, then I'll take Chaos Island with me to the grave.
She's headed for the volcano.
Huh? What do you mean?
If the crystal egg falls into the lava, the heat will unleash the power of the egg, and Chaos Island will sink under the sea.
We give chase, traversing through the volcanic landscape and its various hazards. Yes, that was almost an instant kill. It's a good thing I've picked up 1,000,000 healing items. Once we reach Jado, she summons a
beast of hell,
and we get to fight this octopus, squid, snail thing? Orphen has trouble taking down this enemy, but Zeus jumps into action.
I'll slice open the shell. You kill the beast.
Okay, go!
Yeah!
Zeus! Good luck!
We fight on, and as Orphen is about to kill the monster, this happens.
Orphen, now! Kill it!
Orphen, no! It'll kill Zeus, too!
Damn!
Do it!
Do it! Do it! Do it now!
Orphen defeats the beast, presumably taking Jado down at the same time, and Cleo mourns the loss of Zeus.
Oh, Zeus.
He's okay.
Hey! Orphen! Cleo!
With Jado defeated and Zeus A-OK, we take the egg, Ronnie heals Azel, and there's a happy reunion.
Azel, all these years we've been apart, I feel like I've missed so much.
Daddy.
But now that I finally found you, what I really mean to say is, I love you. I love you very much.
Uh-huh. Bet you told him to say that, didn't you?
Father and daughter reunited at last.
Ugh, spare me.
It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
We get another boat epilogue in which we see a flashback to Zeus giving Orphen an item.
Master Orphen, thanks to you, I found my precious Azel. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Now don't get all mushy on me.
There is something I wish you to have.
Huh?
This is the golden arrow. It has been in my family for many generations, and it will bring you and your friends good luck. Please accept it.
And once again, Orphen hears a voice in the distance.
You have done well, Orphen. Very well. But your true destiny still awaits before you, unfulfilled. Here I will remain, waiting. The stage has been set for you to return. Orphen, you are my only hope.
Alright, third scenario and maybe some answers. One fun fact before that, if you tell the game, no, I don't want to play this anymore, please don't make me start over again, it says, yeah, sure, here's a bad ending, sucker. Fortunately, if you load the save you made at the end of a scenario, you're right back at the Crystal Egg screen. This time, we don't see Sephi or Zeus on the ship, only Cleo and Magnus.
Hey, Cleo.
Orphen! How could you wander off at a time like this?
Hey, I've got things to do.
The serpent attacks again, Orphen defeats it, the ship sinks, and there's a new cutscene now with Ronnie. What is going on in this game? Back on Chaos Island, we hear the sound of a flute in the distance, and Cleo wakes Orphen up. They find a door that Cleo foolishly breaks, and so I take control of her to find a new path forward. Guess who's going time traveling? Not once, but twice. She does notice that, hey, there's a nice sunrise, and hey, it's nighttime again, but she doesn't question it beyond that. What a goof. She meets Mar on top of the cliff.
I'm trying to find this song. Somebody told me they heard it on this island.
You came all this way just to hear a song?
This song is gonna lead me to my mother.
What?
Oh, I'm trying to find my mother.
Your mother?
We got separated when I was a baby.
Oh.
He'll tag along now, and we open the door Cleo previously broke.
Aha! There you are! Where have you been, Orphen?
What are you talking about? I was right here the whole time.
You were?
Cleo, you left him there. What do you mean, where have you been? She mentions the change in scenery that she saw.
So you saw that sunset then? Wasn't it beautiful?
Sunset? Have you gone completely out of your mind?
I can't believe you missed that sunset.
But no one seems to bat an eye at this. So I guess we'll just move on. With 3 people, we can hoist Mar up into this waterfall pathway, so I say let's stick together for once.
Mommy.
Or maybe Mar is going to just wander off, sure.
Leave me alone, you monsters!
I like that Orphen is just standing in the background like, he'll be fine. Mar's fighting style is a bit different. He uses musical instruments including his flute, a harp that deflects attacks, and cymbals that damage flying enemies. He does not have a close-range weapon. Eventually, we find a machine that's running an organ that's powered by the water flow.
Don't move.
What's wrong?
There's something in the water.
Oh no, it's basic enemies.
The Hail of Heaven!
Fighting them causes an earthquake which destroys the organ.
Sure looks like that thing's done for.
Mar comments that he has to continue following the music, so we'll keep going. Along the path, we see Jado? Nice music cue. In any event, we have to continue forward, but we don't have a clear path across the river. Mar, though, can handle this.
I bet we could cross over if we knocked that boulder into the river.
Yeah, but how the hell are we supposed to get way over there?
I could get there by going through here.
It's too dangerous.
Don't worry. I can do it. Wait here.
Welcome to the worst platforming section in this game, and there are many of them. Mar has to jump over these logs to reach further platforms. 2 frustration points here. 1, waiting for the correct log to show up so you can jump to the next platform. 2, precision jumping to get onto the next platform. This game was not built for this type of precision platforming. Once you do reach the top, Mar plays his flute, and this happens. I guess he can just do that? Orphen has the same question that I do, but Cleo doesn't care.
Hey, how the heck did you do that?
What does it matter? Come on, let's go.
We hear some distant music, and we get a clue that it's one of the towers on the island. Fortunately, we've arrived at Gaia's tomb and the rest house, so it's time to see what everyone else has to say. Magnus is here, as are Vulcan and Dorton, who Orphen once again beats up.
Ah, Vulcan. I've been meaning to have a word with you.
So, you finally realized you need me.
Yeah, like I need you to get me into messes like this.
Hey, wasn't he on the ship?
He's
Mar.
Ah, so that's why you want to go to that tower.
Now do you understand?
Yes, Cleo, I do. But you'll need a boat to get to that tower from here. And I haven't seen one around since I got here.
But
I was told you can walk across in the winter. The water gets frozen.
But I can't wait until winter.
So what do we do?
In this scenario, Vulcan tells us about the crystal egg. This conversation helps Cleo realize that she traveled through time by stepping on the shards before.
When I climbed up the cliffs after we first came ashore, I think I stepped on something that was glowing.
Did you happen to notice any changes in time, Cleo?
Now that I think about it, yeah.
So if we find a piece of this egg, maybe we can turn summer into winter.
Really?
Moving on, we see a shard of the egg in the distance, and this sets us up to find not 1, but 2 shards of the egg to change time. The first time jump makes it so it's nighttime, and the second one just causes some rain, so not super helpful. It does at least give us access to a bridge so we can reach Chapel Hill and...
What's happening?
Is the volcano coming to life?
I don't know, Mar. This island has been acting up ever since that music machine was destroyed.
What do you mean?
I'm not sure, but I think the earthquakes are related to the music machine somehow.
Anyway, it's time once again to control Mar as we navigate through a misty mountain path. This is fine, there's nothing crazy beyond some dropping rocks. We reach a building and we find the crystal egg there.
What is this place? Hello? Anyone home?
Looks deserted to me.
Hey! What's that over there?
It's a crystal egg.
And we also find this guy.
What is it? Ah!
I like this boss fight. He'll land in front of Orphen to fight a little bit and then he'll fly around. You have to predict where he'll land, and sometimes you catch him flying at you from further away. It's a fun little fight. Our reward for this fight is an anime cutscene with a pleased Mar holding the crystal egg. Orphen teases Mar and Cleo a bit.
And it's all thanks to you and Orphen.
That's right, Mar. I don't know about Cleo, but you do owe me. Big time.
There's an earthquake, and Mar drops the egg. It seems to be a common trend with every character in this game. As he chases after it, he hears the music again.
From over there!
I want to go to that tower. Yes, I must go to that tower.
As usual, we take a quick break at Gaia's tomb, and then we continue with Mar and Cleo. Orphen summons Vulcan. And we ask him about using the crystal egg. Vulcan is unhelpful as always, but he does tackle Orphen, which activates the egg, transporting the crew minus the troublemakers.
It looks like I'm gonna have to take the egg back myself. Hey, knock it off! What the? What's happening?
Orphen? Ah!
Now that we're in this wintry setting, we platform with Mar a bit because he's the only character light enough to not completely destroy the ice by stepping on it.
I can get us out of here. I don't weigh enough to fall through.
Mar, it's too dangerous.
I'll be okay.
He reaches a pillar that he can knock over with the power of his flute, almost murdering Orphen and Cleo in the process. It seems like the song he learned from his mother helps him do all these things.
Awesome! Mar, that flute is amazing!
How do you do that?
I don't know. I don't know anything about her, really. Except for the song, of course.
At the tower, Cleo uses the power of
Think about when you want to be.
and we make it back to our time and the correct tower. Entering the tower, we find the music is coming from above, but no stairs. To find the way up, we need to solve a puzzle, matching some musical tones correctly. I'll talk more about this one later on. It's slightly tricky, but not as bad as it first seems.
That sounds like part of the last song. We did it!
There are a few more puzzles and fights here, but we reach the top of the tower and find Jado playing the music.
Who are you? I've never seen you people before.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to dispel the curse and save this island.
What curse?
Another earthquake!
They're caused by the demon under the island.
Demon?
An evil spirit of the island. As long as the song is playing, it will remain asleep.
So that music machine is...
You saw my machine, eh? It plays the song automatically. But now it's broken. I must get it working again. Fast.
Mar plays his flute.
Oh.
My mother played it when I was a baby. That's all I remember about her.
Your mother? But it can't be.
You mean you know who I am? Please tell me, where's my mother? Please, I need to know.
I don't know. Why would I know?
Jado refuses to answer any more questions, so we'll continue on to the next tower. But not before a boss fight on the bridge to the tower. This snake lady attacks, and it's not too bad. She controls respawning ice spirits, so as long as you guard carefully and target her when you're able to, you'll be fine. In the next tower, we don't have to do much, just enter and see Ranni playing music and Kiris watching her. This time, Kiris is Jado's daughter, further muddying the waters of who the hell any of these characters actually are.
When the demon fully awakens, the island will sink beneath the waves.
The island's going to sink? Then why aren't you trying to leave?
We've been on this island for generations and we have nowhere to go. My daughter Ranni has been playing the song non-stop. She's too exhausted to move. I don't know what to do.
Alas, Ranni falls asleep from playing her music for so long and the earthquakes start up again.
Leave this island. Save yourselves. Please get out now while you have the chance.
We get another anime cutscene with Mar expressing his desire to save the island.
I'm going to rebuild that music machine.
Are you sure? Do you know how?
But Ranni, I have to save her. I don't know why, but something just keeps telling me I have to save her.
Ah, 'tis love, as beautiful as the ocean, yet mysterioso as the sky.
Mar, ready to go?
You really can't take Orphen anywhere. For once, Cleo does something I agree with.
All right! I'm sorry! Let me go!
Back at the rest house, Orphen tells everyone that the island is going to sink and to get ready to escape.
I was planning on leaving the island soon in any case. It seems that the daughter I was searching for was never here.
You're right, Zeus. The character who was previously your daughter is now Ranni's mother. Cleo has a cunning plan to fix the organ that was stabilizing the island.
Maybe we should just bash it with the crystal egg and see what happens.
Be serious, Cleo.
Orphen is correct, but Jado basically says, oh, the crystal egg exists? We can fix the machine with that. Also, can we talk about Orphen just throwing the egg to Jado?
Oh, I don't believe it. The legendary crystal egg. It really exists.
Everyone is exceedingly careless with this extremely important artifact. So the plan is to go to the organ and use the egg to restore it. We have to escort Jado. Yes, this game features an escort mission. It is truly a video game of all time. Once we reach the organ, Jado uses the egg to repair it. And yeah, it seems like we're all good here. Jado tinkers a bit and explains more about the music.
For many generations, my family has been cursed with the duty of protecting this island with our music. Our task is made even harder by the fact that only music played by a young girl can keep the demon asleep.
Does it have to be a girl?
What?
Would it work if a boy played the music?
Mar, what are you saying?
It's not impossible. There have been instances when boys have played the song.
Really?
But a boy can only keep the demon asleep for a short period of time, and even then, it comes at the price of his life. It's all up to Ranni now. So, we have no need for boys in our family.
So yeah, Mar is 100% part of this family, but he was left behind at some point. They don't say that here, but it's pretty clear. Even though Jado has fixed the machine,
the beast broke the seal while Ronnie was resting. The beast has awakened!
So that's bad, but we decide to head onward to take on the demon.
Who wants to grow old and die in bed? I'll show that demon a few tricks.
Bravo! You're the greatest of them all, Orphen. You're finally a hero.
Hey! What do you mean, finally?
Mar follows us.
I finally understand why I'm on this island. This is it. This is why. I have to go with them.
And Jado says what we already knew.
Oh, gods, please protect my grandson.
There is a fairly lengthy labyrinth at this point. I'm not going to show everything, it's just a lot of platforming. And we find a final chamber in which Mar pushes some blocks around. In short, these blocks are resonating stones that have been thrown out of sequence. Once we put everything back in place,
that's the demon!
It's about time. And I was starting to feel let down.
You can't scare me! I'm not afraid!
the demon is a bunch of blocks? Orphen attacks it for a bit, but he interrupts the fight to say,
Damn! I'm hitting it with everything I have! But it's no use! It's just no use!
Mar? No!
Don't do it!
And now, with Mar playing the song, we can see the demon, and it's an eyeball that moves throughout the blocks. All seems to be going well in this fight, just target where the eye is. But Mar can't keep this up for long.
Mar!
Orphen fights on fairly uselessly, but eventually Mar rises to continue playing. And with the combined music of Mar and Ronnie in the distance, we defeat the boss.
The Hand of Pyro!
Now that was easy.
Orphen, it was easy for you, but alas, Mar has collapsed again. Everyone gathers, and Kiris admits the truth.
Please, can you forgive your mother?
Mother, it is you. I finally found you. I've been looking for you for so long. Mother, why? Why did you leave me?
Not a day went by that I didn't cry myself to sleep, wondering what had become of you.
Mar? Ronnie, does this mean you're my sister? Are you okay?
I'm fine now. Thanks to you, little brother. We're gonna have so much fun together.
I always wanted a sister.
Unfortunately, it seems they simply can't save Mar, and he passes his flute on to Orphen.
Don't believe any of that silly destiny talk, kid. You're gonna be fine.
Please, look after this for me.
Your flute?
I think it should be with you now, Orphen.
What are you saying? You love that flute.
Mar!
Aww.
Okay, look, I was genuinely sad in this scene until Orphen said,
Aww.
That really just kills the whole vibe. Alright, back to the ship for the scenario epilogue as usual, and Cleo is still sad, along with Orphen.
Cleo, you're not crying, are you?
Well, why wouldn't I be crying? If it weren't for Mar, we'd all be at the bottom of the ocean. Twerp!
Oh, man. What did I do?
Dumb kid. Just had to go and get himself killed, saving the rest of us. Damn it.
And Orphen hears the voice in the distance again. And because we've helped the three characters, we can now take on Orphen's destiny.
You have received something valuable from each of the three that sleep before you. You now possess the key to unlock the truth.
Unlock the truth?
Orphen, I have one more thing to ask. To fulfill your destiny and set yourself free, you must also release us from the chains of eternity.
This is where we learn the truth of the full story that we've experienced, why everything is so mixed up in each scenario.
Have you not wondered how it is that you know the story of each of those that sleep before you?
Hey, I get it. You're right. After I met each of them on the ship, we went off on some kind of weird adventure together. As soon as one adventure ended, the next thing I knew, there I was, back on the ship again. Hey, just what the hell is going on here? What do you mean, chains of eternity?
Orphen, soon all will be clear. You will find the truth. You must destroy Gaia. I beg you. Please. Please release us.
Gaia? What's Gaia? Wait!
Orphen, Cleo, and Magnus warp back to Gaia's tomb, and Orphen is feeling done with this and finally connects some of the dots.
Something very weird is going on, and I'm getting sick and tired of being moved around and not having any say in the matter.
Orphen? Do you know what we're doing here?
It seems we've been trapped from the very beginning.
Huh? What do you mean, trapped? Trapped by what, Master?
The three gifts he received become a... what is this?
It looks like a map.
Oh, of course, I knew that.
I think it's showing the location of something.
Gaia.
What?
Whoever or whatever this Gaia is, it must be here. Looks like we have no choice. Let's go.
Onward to the truth in Gaia's lair. We find a stone here, and it seems like the same one that we saw in the cutscene at the very beginning of the game. See, the mystery does finally resolve. We see Sephi, Zeus, and Mar floating here, and Orphen calls out to Ronnie, who appears.
They're nothing but puppets.
Puppets?
Isn't that right, Ronnie? Show yourself. I know you're here somewhere.
Yes, you are correct. The three you see before you were once normal people, with normal lives.
Who are you?
However, once they touched a dragon's eye, their destiny was forever altered. They were compelled to travel to this island to take on their new roles, their new life. They are now nothing more than pawns, actors in Gaia's twisted play.
Here's the quick summary. Each of the characters encountered a stone called a dragon's eye, and this caused them to travel to Chaos Island and become actors for the sake of feeding Gaia with their emotions. This all explains why everything was so dramatic, with Sephi losing the love of her life, Zeus searching for his daughter, Mars' death in his scenario. It also explains why Ronnie can be Jado's granddaughter in Sephi's scenario, a random girl kidnapped by Jado in Zeus's, and Kyrus's daughter in Mars. Ronnie asks Orphen to help her.
I cannot speculate on its reasons for existence. To me, Gaia just represents the source of all my pain. For uncounted eons, we have brought new cast members to this island. But now I think it is time. Time to end this charade. Orphen, I brought you here for only one reason. I want you to insert the dragon eyes into Gaia.
If Sephi, Zeus, and Mar had inserted their dragon's eye into Gaia, they would sleep on the island forever. And because we're caught in Gaia's web now, we'll be stuck here forever unless Orphen breaks the regular order and inserts the eyes himself.
Damn. Looks like I have no choice.
So he does as Ronnie asks, and Gaia wakes up.
Orphen!
Edo, unit. What is the meaning of this? The memories contained in the dragon's eyes do not correspond to those who installed them. Those who inserted the eyes were not those chosen by Gaia.
Ronnie explains that this action will cause a cascading error leading to Gaia's end, and Ronnie has a final request for Orphen.
Destroy Gaia! Set me free, Orphen!
So here we go, it's time for the final boss. Oh man, this is a mecha anime now? Sick. Also, I really love the final boss music. Notice it starts the same as the regular boss music and then shifts. So, we want to destroy Gaia's head eventually, but it shields itself with its arms. So if you destroy the arms, then you can target the head. This guy is a bit of a jerk because he'll release drones sometimes, and he releases more of them each time he does. I had to try this boss a few times because the drone swarms become hard to manage. He also uses a giant blast attack that takes over the camera. I couldn't activate Orphen's shield while this animation played, only once the camera snapped back to Orphen, so the timing feels a little bit strange. Eventually though, I'm victorious. With Gaia destroyed, we can go free, and so can Ronnie, right?
Orphen, take out the dragon's eyes. Then Gaia will be...
You are all fools!
Whoa! It's still alive!
Without the master, the slave has no future. You have doomed us both.
What's wrong?
Ronnie is revealed to be a mannequin-like machine. She explains her purpose.
The sole purpose of my existence is to play the various roles that Gaia provides. When my scene ends, I die, and am created anew for the next.
Unfortunately, she cannot exist without Gaia, and she fades away.
I would have loved to have seen your world, the real world, just once. I wanted to talk to people in the real world, not this make-believe world.
I remember back at the beginning when we saw a figure in pain in front of Gaia. This repeated for so long for Ronnie, and Orphen theorizes about what happened to her.
With all of those human tragedies she witnessed, at some point, she must have begun to feel human emotions herself.
Who in the world do you suppose would build a machine like Gaia? And why?
I can't imagine, and I hope I never have to find out. Let's go home.
We sail away from the island, which blooms with life, and as we sail off, Orphen tosses the final dragon's eye into the ocean. The credits roll and reveal the fate of the characters we encountered. Sephi returns to dancing, and Rufus is seen playing music for her. Zeus sits with his daughter, and Mar sleeps on his mother's lap. Dorton and Vulcan ride some beast. Cleo stares off into the distance. Magnus casts a spell. There's a fun shot here of Cleo and Magnus. They are friends in the text, of course. But where's our main man, Orphen? Ah, of course, the final shot. And that is the story of Orphen, Scion of Sorcery. It's hard to say that the story is good. In the end, everything ties together nicely, but it's intensely confusing when you finish one scenario and immediately find that characters are no longer who they were. It's a cool narrative idea, but it doesn't really work because no one ever recognizes it outside of Orphen saying something when he returns to the ship after each scenario. There are several emotional moments in the story, but they're usually hindered by delivery. Yeah, like that. I do think the final cutscenes do a good job of wrapping up the plot and explaining how this all fits together. But it's a pretty hard sell to basically ignore the obvious conflicts between the scenarios and hope that the players will say, well, maybe they'll explain why later. I imagine it would have been more tricky to program this to accommodate player choice, but I think they could have found ways to still do the same scenarios, but have Orphen be suspicious of the jumping back and forth and changing character roles. Oh, hello, if you skipped the story spoilers, you're joining us here. I have one final word on the story that's spoiler-free. There are 3 scenarios, and there is an overarching plot. The scenarios are not equally good. Sephi's is the strongest, I think, with Mars being second, while Zeus's scenario feels the weakest. This isn't because his story of searching for his daughter is bad, it's just the most random in terms of location jumps and action. I think the overarching plot was interesting, but it's presented in a way that asks a bit too much of players who will be confused by the differences in the scenarios when played back to back. With all that said, let's talk about the game's presentation and mechanics. First, visuals. This is certainly an early PS2 game. I remember this being somewhat decent to look at back in 2000. There are moments of lush color and open spaces. But a lot of the game is spent in tight corridors where you avoid traps. The characters at least have the distinctive look of their manga and anime counterparts, and sometimes their mouths even move when they speak.
Well, it looks like we're in for a fight.
But it's honestly nothing to write home about. There are a lot of dark locations with occasional flashes of lightning, wintry settings that are primarily white snow, candlelit interior corridors with tight viewpoints. The view is a bit hard to take in at times. The camera is generally locked behind and slightly above Orphen. While you can go into a first-person view, you'll generally stay in the third person directly behind the character view. You can't move in the first-person view, but you can move the camera with the right stick. However, in third-person view, you control the camera with the L1 and R1 buttons. This all was fine in my first scenario with Sephi, but when Zeus joined the party, his model is so large that he frequently blocked my view. I'm gonna be honest, I don't have much to say about the visuals in this game. It's often too dark or too similar to present anything interesting outside of a few set pieces. While you're exploring these locations, there will be a surprising amount of silence punctuated by Orphen's footsteps or sound effects in the distance. There are, of course, places where music will play, but it's often reserved for cutscenes and battles.
I can only think of a few places where the music really accentuated the feeling the developers were going for in exploration, like when you first see the Kirin tree in Sephi's scenario. It's a decent tune, and it's used often in the game at emotional moments. I do like the battle and boss themes, but there aren't any other standout tracks or moments that blew me away in terms of sound design. I've been avoiding this for a while, but it's time to talk about the voice acting.
What are you talking about?
This is not good.
No, I don't think so. We should take the door on the left.
Wow, that's amazing. That just proves the pureness of Sephi's heart.
Well, I don't know about that.
Ah!
Ah! You're awake?
What? Really? Oh, right!
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, it's certainly some early PlayStation 2 voice acting. There's nothing crazy impressive, and it often falls into campy anime dub territory. However, there are some decent performances and moments scattered throughout the game. Quentin Flynn, better known for Raiden's voice in Metal Gear Solid 2, does a decent job of highlighting Orphen's tough but kind presence.
Okay. Of course I'll help you find it.
All right!
Oh, thank you, Orphen. I knew you would do it. Beneath it all, you're really quite a nice person.
Yeah, well, okay, enough of that. Just don't go spreading the word, all right? Now, let's go find that egg.
However, even his performance isn't free from a few poorly delivered lines that feel out of place.
What do you mean?
I'm not sure, but I think the earthquakes are related to the music machine somehow.
There's really no reason to be shouting here, Orphen, please calm down. The developers did get a little lazy with some voice lines, though. Early in Zeus's scenario, you enter a ship graveyard, and during a battle, Zeus leaves combat to open an escape route.
This is not good. Master Orphen, hold them off while I make us a way out of here.
Okay.
Once the path is open, we hear,
"Let's go."
Okay.
Wait, did they recycle Orphen's line?
Okay.
They did. And there's another fight not too long after this where we repeat the exact same thing.
This is not good. Master Orphen, hold them off while I make us a way out of here.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay.
That felt very lazy to me, and I wish they had done a bit more with Zeus here. There are, of course, cutscenes in this game, both CG and anime. Most of the gameplay is moving along a straight path so you can see the next chunk of story, and in general, these do a decent job of conveying what's happening. Some audio cues are a bit goofy, and some delivery is exceptionally off-putting. But the decent moments are fine. So, yeah, the voice acting is definitely early PS2 era. It's not a Final Fantasy X or Metal Gear Solid, and the audio presentation in this game is probably the weakest part of the whole package. A particular point of contention in the voice acting is the near constant voice lines in combat, which are delivered by all controllable characters except for one. Because you play as Orphen for the majority of combat encounters, you will get used to hearing him exclaim the names of his spells with strong authority.
The bite of lightning! The pinnacle of the sun! The bolt of thunder! The smoke of pain!
I already mentioned that there is an in-universe reason to announce your attack names, but without that context, this feels very silly. And it is very silly. Imagine hearing
the smoke of pain
over and over again. But at the same time, I kinda dig it. I think battles would be less interesting without it, really. Speaking of battles, let's talk about combat.
I ended up liking the combat in this game a lot by the end of it. It's a reasonably unique idea. Orphen is a sorcerer, so he's not going to be running around attacking enemies directly. He has to focus his attention on casting his spells. You take on packs of enemies in predetermined spots throughout the game, so each encounter is handcrafted by the devs for a particular moment. However, they don't often feel particularly meaningful. Some of them have valid story connections, like Magnus casting a spell to try to warm Sephi up and accidentally summoning monsters to their location. Many of the fights, though, just feel like they're there to have combat in the game. Even Zeus gets tired of the fights at one point.
Monsters again?
Damn! They never learn.
As I mentioned during the first fight against the crab, you can use 3 equipable spells and a shield. This is true for all of the characters you can control in combat, though Sephi, Zeus, and Mar have more limited equipment options. The shield is a critical aspect of combat. You cannot dodge attacks, only shield against them. It will cancel damage and help avoid status effects, of which there are many. In my playthrough, Orphen was blinded, frozen, confused, locked out of his shield, and poisoned, though I couldn't tell if the poison actually did damage to him. Without the shield, I'm pretty certain it's impossible to defeat some bosses because their attacks are so frequent. I do wish that we had any mobility in battle, though. There were a few times where I happened to time Orphen's sword attack to run toward an enemy and avoid another enemy's attack. That felt really cool, and I wish we had some sort of strategic dodge throughout the game. The square button is always your shield, and you can set triangle, X, and circle to whatever you want once you get some additional spells and some special shields. By default, triangle is your projectile spell, which is initially
the Hand of Pyro,
which is a fire-based projectile. All projectiles can be charged to increase the number of them. These are very useful spells in that they cast quickly and usually act as homing attacks on your targets. They won't follow a flying enemy if they fly past you and teleport back to their starting location, though. I mainly used this spell type throughout the entire game. The Darkness projectile,
the Smoke of Pain,
is one of my favorites. First, Orphen's shout is great, and second, it moves slowly and takes over the battlefield in a satisfying way. Circle is initially an elemental spell.
the Bite of Lightning,
And these are a bit strange. You hold the button to charge the attack, and it increases the target area of the spell the longer you hold it. If you hold it long enough, Orphen will release an attack by an elemental spirit, which seems to hit all targets.
the Hail of Heavens!
However, these spells have 2 major downsides. The first is that if you start charging the spell and the target moves, you may be left targeting empty space, and you can't wait for the target to return because it's usually moving to attack you. The second issue is my biggest problem with elemental spells and combat in general. Once Orphen casts a spell, he has a small cooldown before he can take another action. This is true for projectiles too, but the wait after casting an elemental spell feels like a lifetime. There were multiple times when I felt like I was just standing in combat like an idiot, just tanking damage because I legitimately could not provide any input. So these spells can be very useful, but I was constantly annoyed by them. X is set to Orphen's Sword of the Fallen Devil, which is the only attack he will not announce. It's fine, he charges the sword to increase its length, then rushes forward and can do a combo if you time your presses correctly. The problem with this attack is that it's often useless due to enemies being across a gap, so Orphen will be left swinging at the air. He can do a jump to target some enemies in the air, but it's not as helpful as just charging a projectile spell. You do get one upgrade to this sword, it is a fire-based weapon, but you can also replace it with a special reflecting shield or another projectile or elemental spell. You can equip any spell on any of these 3 slots, so you can set Orphen to have 2 projectiles and his sword, for example. You'll want to consider your elemental loadout for each combat situation. When you change targets in a normal fight, you'll see a graph that indicates enemy weaknesses, and you'll usually face off against several enemies that have similar weaknesses. The one time you can't see this graph is, unfortunately, during boss fights, so you have to make your best guess about their weaknesses. If you go into combat with the wrong spells, that's actually no problem. You can pause the game and equip different spells. This does reset combat though, so it's not worth doing if you only have one enemy left. The other time you might want to reset combat is if you're about to die. When Orphen is defeated in combat, you return to the main menu. That means if you're on a boss fight that is several cutscenes away from the last save point, you have to sit through those cutscenes again because you sure cannot skip them. The standard enemy fights in this game range from pretty fun and entertaining to very frustrating. The worst enemy encounters are those in which many packs of flying enemies surround you. A lot of flying enemies are swarms of creatures, and the swarm seems like it can hit you multiple times as it flies past you. When there are multiple packs, you have to sit on your shield sometimes and hope you get a chance to attack. When there are few or no flying enemies, combat is pretty fun. It features a good mix of countering enemy movement and finding times to charge up your own big attacks. Where the combat shines is in several of the game's boss fights. I went through many of those in the story spoilers, but I want to highlight this fight early in Zeus's scenario against a spider. This one is really fun because to damage the boss, you need to destroy some webs that block access to it, all while shielding against the boss's attacks at the same time. Once you clear the webs, you can choose to use a spell on the spider or charge in with your sword. It's a very dynamic fight that kept me on my toes and required a few attempts to clear. It's made more challenging by the boss's ability to lock you out of using your shield if its needle attack hits you. This can be a death sentence, so timing your shield correctly is critical for survival. The other standout fight is the final boss, which grows more challenging as you damage it and features some devastating attacks with tricky timing. Battles are a cinematic affair, with the camera slowly traversing the battlefield and highlighting key moments in combat, like Orphen getting hit by an attack, or an enemy being defeated. This sounds like it could add some flavor to combat, but it ultimately makes it more challenging because you sometimes can't see what's happening to Orphen while this enemy is dying. One final note about combat. Orphen never grows any stronger during this game. He does gain new spells as you go. Regardless of if you start with Sephi or Zeus's scenarios, Orphen will always go through his first scenario starting with
the hail of pyro, the bite of lightning, the shield of immunity, the bolt of thunder,
along of course with his shield and his sword. Each boss encounter rewards you with a new spell or shield, along with Colonel Campbell telling you about the spell.
The smoke of pain. Darkness. Charge up to increase the number of projectiles.
Orphen's projectile spells are all the same strength in their given element. The elemental spells are all the same strength of their element, and there is no boosting their power outside of charging them in combat. So combat comes down to figuring out the enemy's weakness, equipping the right spells immediately, and managing your attack timing to defeat enemies efficiently. When you're not in combat, you're exploring Chaos Island, and I think this portion of the game got less love than the combat. In short, exploration is not exciting. You can find chests, but they usually contain a healing item or an item that will stop enemy movement on the field. That all sounds nice at first, but these items only apply to exploration health in enemies. If you get hurt in combat, tough luck, you better hope there's a healing elemental on the combat field. In the exploration zones, if you get hurt by environmental hazards, you can use your items to heal. Environmental hazards can certainly kill you. I almost died late in Zeus's scenario because I, with some damage taken already, thought surely I'll be okay to take one more hit before healing, only to have this happen. I have never paused a game so quickly and shouted so suddenly. Unfortunately, chests can also contain weapons or spells for Sephi, Zeus, and Mar, so you're incentivized to find them, even though most of these chests just contain items that I ended up not using. I think the reason the developers were so generous with these items is because they recognized the game's movement through hazards is particularly hard to gauge. There is a section in Mars scenario in which you need to jump onto and off of logs floating down a river, and it is a miserable experience to try to determine how far Mar can walk toward the edge of these logs, how high he jumps, and how far he can go before dropping like a stone. As you explore, you'll often hear Orphen or another character say something like,
"I'll go on ahead and check things out. You guys, catch up later."
I'm pretty confident that you navigate all of the hazard rooms with a single character, and I already mentioned that I'm sure it would be miserable to deal with 3 characters getting through the hazards. This does lead to some goofy moments. In Sephi's scenario, Orphen says,
This looks dangerous. I'll go on ahead. You two catch up later.
And forges ahead along a pathway with some hazards and then down some stairs. He then encounters some monsters. Sephi and Magnus roll up and join him in combat. At the end of the battle, they go back where they were before. Why not just wait at the combat spot at that point? Puzzles do exist in this game, but they are straightforward. Usually it's block pushing puzzles or find a correct path through a room with some kind of gimmick. There is one music-based puzzle in Mars scenario that took me some time to figure out. You listen to a tune, and then you repeat it by jumping on some switches. The trick, though, is that you don't use all of the switches because some of them are simply wrong. Fortunately, the game does clue you in a bit. If Mar says,
"That sounds like part of the last song,"
then it's a correct part of the song. However, if Cleo says,
"What's this?"
then it's not. They only do that for the first button you press after resetting the puzzle, though, so I found myself resetting it frequently to work out the correct keys. These puzzles are not as frequent as the hazard rooms, though, so the main exploration phases are spent navigating traps. So that's the basic gameplay flow here. Explore, fight, cutscene. Explore, fight, cutscene. I suppose you could say that about the majority of RPGs out there, but Orphen feels particularly railroaded in its presentation. There are a few moments of zen in which you stop by a rest house and talk with all the characters, but these are indeed short breaks before continuing with your chosen side character's plotline. Usually you can't travel backwards once you progress to a new area. This game, I think, was the long corridor to the next cutscene RPG before Final Fantasy XIII. The game does feature some extras that you can earn by playing. First, you can watch the anime cutscenes again, though I don't know why you would. They are fairly short and most don't show remarkable action. Additionally, after each fight, you have the chance to earn an image that goes in Orphen's picture book. Don't get too excited though, because I'm not sure why you would want to look at a picture of Orphen giving a thumbs up or wax nostalgic about defeating a particular scrub enemy. I hope you won't be too shocked to hear me say that Orphen, Scion of Sorcery is not the best game on the PlayStation 2. The combat system has some interesting ideas to highlight how sorcerers would engage in combat in the Orphen universe, and the story does have some aspects that I found appealing. However, the game's mechanics don't work well together, with exploration that feels unimportant and combat that can become frustrating due to choices about cooldowns between spells and being locked in place. The presentation of the story usually fails to draw an emotional connection, with the voice direction being a prime issue. However, I have to say I strangely enjoyed finishing this game. I can't say I had a lot of fun playing it, but it had enough enjoyable aspects in combat and in the story that I felt like I could persevere through the rough spots. This isn't some lost treasure or anything like that, it's just kind of fine. It's unfortunate that the series only had this one game entry, as I think there is potential here for a more interesting adaptation that shows off magic users in combat. So that's the video, thank you for watching. I did not expect to write a 23-page script about Orphen, Scion of Sorcery, but here we are. If you've played this and you have thoughts about it, or if you enjoy the Orphen universe, or you have other thoughts, I'd love to see those in the comments. Thanks again, and have a great day.